Yeah, do you want the video on? I could turn it on.
It's up to you. It doesn't matter to me. Sometimes it's nice, even if
There you
it's
go.
just short and sweet, to connect with you, you know?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
How are you? Good morning. Are
I'm
you
doing
working
great,
from
and you?
home in all this craziness?
Yes, they have me
Yeah.
working from home. It's not that fun anymore. It was fun the first few
No,
days.
no. Everyone's over it, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Definitely want to go back to an office setting.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about how it works and how I work and what you can kind of expect from that. Then I'm going to move on to whatever is kind of coming through on its own to start with. I like to just start with that. And then at some point I'll stop and I'll say, okay, what do you want to talk about? Why did you make this appointment? What's like in the forefront of your mind? Because, I think with these longer appointments, I think it's nice to sort of give you the space to get whatever spirit thinks that you need to hear the most. But I also like to make sure that you're getting what you want out of it, So I try to squeeze a little bit of both in. If at that point, a spirit that you were hoping to hear from, a past loved one, hasn't come through on their own, you can tell me the name and the relationship, just first name. I don't need to know any details about them. And we can try and like see if they're around and they're feeling chatty.
Okay.
And I have some cards too that we can do if that comes up. Okay. So I will tell you that when I do this speech, I always forget what I'm going to say, even though I say the same speech over and over again, because spirit, before you do these, they kind of clear your mind out to make room for the messages. And so I always get very forgetful during this part of it. So I apologize.
No worries.
But I'm going to give my whole speech anyway, because I feel like it's kind of partly like my on signal, that lets them know that I'm here and I'm ready to go. I will tell you that I am home. Clearly, this is my bedroom. My children know not to interrupt, but that doesn't mean that it will stop them. So if that happens, I apologize. Hopefully it will not. They're being occupied, but I have a babysitter this morning. So, well, my dad is watching, but he's a little loosey goosey. So no guarantees.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so please feel free, especially when we're connecting with a past loved one, please feel free to answer me if you're comfortable with that. I tend to I think out of habit, sort of phrase the information that I'm giving as like a question. And a lot of people are like afraid to answer me, or I know a lot of other mediums will say things like, only tell me yes or no. I don't really work that way. There will be plenty of evidence for you to understand who I have and, that the spirit is really around you, where you shouldn't need to feel like you have to hold back. And I also feel like spirit kind of vibes off of that, I'm
busy. Sorry, it's
That's okay.
my brother too.
See, it's all working from home is a challenge. So I like to kind of, they're people. I like to make them feel that this is a three-way conversation and not, I like them to feel included.
Yeah.
So I like to make it conversational, and sometimes they can kind of vibe off of what you're saying back. If you're recognizing a memory and saying, oh yeah, that time, and then telling me like the story about it, they like that and they get more excited and they might even show more information or clarify what I'm seeing. That being said, I might also be like, wait, don't tell me.
Okay.
Because if I feel like it's coming, I would rather obviously get there on my own so that I can give you that information as evidence. I'm not asking you to give me any info, just if you want to answer, you can. If you're more comfortable not answering, you don't have to.
Okay, definitely.
Also, if anything comes up that you don't want to talk about, then you can just tell me that you understand and I will do my best to get them to move on. They don't always listen, but we'll do our best. And in the same vein, please feel free to tell me no. I'm not offended by that. I get so many clients that are like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. It's okay. I'm not upset. You don't have to be sorry. I consider myself just like the translator. So when you tell me no, it helps me understand what I'm working with, that I'm either misunderstanding it or maybe it's, the wrong spirit or whatever. And I need to be able to redirect that line of what I'm seeing or hearing or feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. So no is a good thing. It's okay. Let's see what else. I don't know, but I will probably remember it as we go, and then I will say it and say, oh yeah, I meant to say this before. Okay, so now that I have you, give me just a second to kind of tune back into it. And then I will start rolling with whatever I'm getting. I do want to tell you that if you see me drawing or writing, I'm actually just doodling.
Okay.
It just keeps, and I do have a couple of notes here because I always sometimes will get stuff like when I'm meditating, but it just helps keep my conscious mind clear so that I can be kind of in the receptive mode. You know how like when you're driving, you have really deep thoughts?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, that's what it is. It's because your mind is occupied. And so you can just kind of receive. So that's why I doodle. So if you see me doodling, I'm not like writing down info on you or anything.
Okay.
I'm just doodling. Okay. Okay, hold on. Do you know, I want to start with this because I was getting this while I was meditating, but I don't know that it's necessarily for you because right before I called you, I was having some kind of difficult conversations with a fragile white woman on my Facebook.
Okay.
And so I want to just make sure that this is for you. Do you know if you have any connection, like ancestrally, to the islands? Like it felt like Dominican or Haiti or something like that.
I
No.
don't think
Okay.
so.
All right.
No.
Okay. I asked because I was seeing like a tropical location and I was seeing this kind of older Black gentleman. He had like dark skin. And I think, I want to say either a bald head or like gray hair. And he was wearing all linen and he was like dancing. And it was hot where he was. There were palm trees. There was music. So I don't know. Just it could be a spirit guide. It could be a past loved one. It could be for somebody else. So
Okay.
just put that in your back pocket. And if that comes up later, then you'll know that that was for you. If that comes up for you later in your real life. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm also getting right now what feels to me to be either a spirit guide or an angel, maybe not necessarily a past loved one, but if you recognize this as someone that you know who's passed, let me know. But she is a young, what I'm seeing is a younger woman. She has curly hair with like, I don't know, some caramel streaks in it. She looks to me to be like an angel. Like she's dressed in the way that I usually see the symbol of angels. It's like a long, flowy white gown. And the way that I usually see angels is not the same as the way that I see spirits who've passed. To me, it's almost like they were never like real angels. It feels to me like they were never human. They just kind of make themselves look in human form so as to not scare us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're more like these light beings. And she looks what? Go ahead.
Like I think that's her. I know I have a girl spirit guide. I could communicate a little bit, but not a lot. And I feel like it's because it's personally me. I just can't get through.
Yeah, you mean like you have trouble connecting on your own?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me because I sort of feel that for you because the way she's standing, she's putting her arms open and it's kind of in like an inviting way, you know, like come on. So I feel like she's calling on you to keep trying, whatever it is. And she's really beautiful and she has kind of, it's like almost like a caramelly, like sun-kissed skin. You know, she looks like she might be either not white or like really tan. But she has light eyes. She's beautiful. She has light eyes. She's young, really, really pretty, or like traditionally pretty. Sorry, I don't know how to shut the notifications off on my iPad, so that may go off. Okay, hold on. I feel like she was telling you to give yourself more credit and that you're actually better at it than you think that you are. And why are you being so hard on yourself? And she tells me that you get like the little sign. Do you get lots of like synchronicities? Like you see repeating numbers and
Long
little
numbers.
signs? Yeah. She says that you see that all the time and to give yourself credit. So right now, what I'm being guided to do is to kind of give you like a little mini lesson on the way that we receive from spirit. She's telling me that you get it all the time, but it's so subtle that you're not giving yourself credit for what you think that it is. You know what I mean? You think it's your
Yeah.
own thought, or you think it's you count it off as like it's not a big deal. And she's like, it's for me, it's me. She's very sweet. So if you see a sign, something, and you think, oh my God, not just numbers, but like, say, you know, you ask for a shooting star, be open to the way that you see that sign, because this is what she's showing me. A lot of the time spirit will send me my own memories as like a frame of reference, and they say to share, you know, to share this, and there's usually some kind of connection in the story. So when I remember one time there was something that was really, really important to me, and I asked for a shooting star, and that's why they sent me that example. I spent weeks looking to the sky, only to discover that there was one that my son had made taped to my refrigerator door, and it had been there for probably 2 years. And it was like the day I realized that that was right in front of my face. Like I remember it so well. I went to get my coffee creamer out of the fridge and was like, holy shit. Like this has been here all along. It's been here all along. So she wants you to be open to the way that you're receiving the signs, and not to, this is what she's telling me, not to pigeonhole your expectations too much, not to get so caught up in what you expect to receive, the details of it, that you miss the way that it's coming to you in other forms.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Okay. Okay. She also wants you to understand that you're very intuitive. I would say probably pretty clairaudient, which means clear hearing. That's like your psychic sense of hearing. Do you ever get ringing in your ears?
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can feel it right now. That's why you're missing it. Oh my God. She's like, that's why you're missing it. Because so clairaudience comes across a lot as our own thought. It's really, really hard sometimes to differentiate the difference. So when I do a reading and I'm connecting with a past loved one, if they're, you know, from a different country or something, I may hear their accent when I hear it in my head. But usually if it's just, you know, a regular, like, there's no accent, it's just, you know, someone who's from my area, like I hear it as my own thought. There are two types of ways that we can receive information from spirit. One is subjectively and one is objectively. Objectively is a situation where we see an angel or a spirit or a ghost or whatever it is physically standing in our room. Objectively is when a spirit makes a cabinet door pop open. Objectively is when we hear someone whisper our name in our ear and it freaks us out because we can almost feel the breath. Do you know what I'm saying? When it's outside of your body and you experience it in the real world, that's objectively. Subjectively is when it's very subtle and it can come across a lot as our own thought, our own imagination. I'm just making this up, that kind of stuff. And that was like, she told me that's what you say to yourself. You convince yourself that you're making it up, or that you're imagining it, or that it's your own thought. And she's like, it's not. So I think that I think that you're very clairaudient. I think that you are very in tune with spirit. And she's telling me without even trying.
Yeah, I grew
So
up like that.
really?
Yeah. It's just, I think
I would actually venture to guess that you have some mediumistic abilities.
yeah, I
Did you
just,
see ghosts? You saw ghosts as a kid all the time, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Just my mom, I think my mom tried to, my mom made it seem as a bad thing, so she kind of freaked me out when I was little, and then I just tuned out of it for a very long time.
That happens to most of us.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
afraid. I was like, no, they're gonna drag my feet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was always like known as the weird kid who was it, because I wasn't really all that afraid of it, which almost made it seem worse because my parents were like, this is weird. You know what I mean? Like I really liked horror movies and I was into ghost stories and stuff like that. I still, do investigations of hauntings and stuff because that kind of stuff, I like it. But it was almost like, this kid is weird, So then,
Yeah.
then when I feel weird about the fact that I'm not afraid, that stifled me even more than like the initial fear might have. Yeah, so that's very normal and that's very common to be sort of pushed out of it as a kid. I try really hard not to do that with my kids, but it's hard because it's natural to want to protect your children,
Yeah.
you know? Okay, hold on. I actually think that your mom, as I'm feeling into that, I think that your mom probably had some similar experiences, and that's why she was afraid for you and pushed it out of you. I would be willing. This conversation that I'm having with Spirit right now makes me feel like maybe she doesn't even like to talk about it. But if you were able to get her comfortable enough to talk about it, I would think that she might share those similar experiences. She's alive, your mom?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, hold on. So they're showing me, this is in regards to your connection with spirit and your spirituality. She says, she was telling me about how even without trying and even just like accidentally, you're already very in tune and you get a lot of messages and you kind of have little experiences that you either shut out or you miss. And she's giving me the analogy of how, like, when I was in school, I was one of those people who just happened to test well and happened to be good at school. So, like, I got decent grades without putting much effort in. And one of my friends who was really high up in our class and a really hard worker, she would always be like, can you imagine how smart you'd be if you'd apply yourself? And I just didn't because I didn't care. But I did okay because I happened to test well.
Yeah.
Some people do, some people don't. And that's kind of what they're showing me is like, I feel like your spirit guide is like, okay, so now apply yourself.
Yeah.
That's the message. She wants you to work on it.
Yeah. I've been trying.
Yeah. Do you write ever?
I tried, but it wasn't, it felt like I wasn't doing anything. I tried doing the writing.
Yeah. Are you talking about automatic writing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I will tell you, is a practice. It's like meditation. You know what I mean? You're never going to be like, oh, good, I know how to do this now. The work is done.
Yeah.
It's like yoga. It's like meditation. They call it a practice for a reason because it's something that you have to keep working at. And even for me, I do it pretty regularly. And I have some days where it's like my grocery list because I can't get out of my own head.
Yeah.
And I feel like the message for you is that you need to work on your receptive mode. So, do you take an interest in like manifestation kind of stuff, law of attraction and that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Abraham Hicks?
No.
Okay. So it's funny what they're sending me right now is actually a YouTube thumbnail. Like that's what I'm seeing, like a YouTube video in my head. Sometimes I draw tarot cards in my mind. Sometimes it's weird. It's weird up here sometimes. Okay, so Abraham Hicks, if you're new to kind of all of this might be a little bit out there for you, but Abraham Hicks is actually a woman named Esther Hicks who channels this collective consciousness that calls themselves Abraham. So when she speaks, she refers to herself in third person. She'll say, and Esther did this and Esther did that, because it's Abraham that's speaking. It's not her. It's this like divine collective, whatever. If that's like over the top for you, this is what I always tell my students. If that's over the top for you, just focus on what she says and just ignore that part. Pretend it's this lady speaking and just ignore all of that, because she does have a lot of value in what she says. And some people just find it so hard to get past the, like, how weird that is for them. But she has a video on getting into the receptive mode that you might like. But I keep hearing that, like, getting into the receptive mode. So actually, I think the driving in the car thing, I even said that at the beginning, and I don't normally say that as part of my speech about, you know, how you drive in the car and you get great ideas. I think that is really good for you. Or even walking. Do you like to take walks? Like, go for walks?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would find, I think that is a really good time to listen. And that is when it might come across as your own deep thoughts, but you're getting guidance from spirit, you know? That's a really good time to call on someone that you love to step in and be with you, or call on your spirit guide to be with you. So what I do when I do it in the car, out for a walk, whatever, I might say for example, I do this one a lot. My grandmother raised me. We were very, very close, and she passed away a couple of years ago, and it was really hard for me, the way that it is for anybody when someone close to them dies. And sometimes I feel like I just need to feel her around me. And so I like to do it when I'm driving, and I call on her to be with me. And I literally just, either in your head or out loud, I ask her to come and be with me, help me to feel her, help me to know that she's around. And sometimes even while I'm driving, I'll put my other hand out to the side, because she would kind of hold hands. You know, she was one of those, she would hold hands, especially when she was dying. We held hands a lot. And so I like energetically can feel it. You're not going to feel a physical hand in your hand, you know, but I like energetically can feel her with me. And that's when I just sort of sit back and I allow my imagination to run away with me. And that's when it's okay to imagine things that this person might have said, because you're not imagining. Imagination and clairvoyance and clairaudience are so closely connected that people don't know which is which. And so if you're sitting here thinking, wow, I'm really letting my imagination run away with me right now, you're not. Like, I can't even tell you that enough. I also will ask for my spirit guides. Like, if you're looking to communicate with a guide, one of the ways that I ask is for them to communicate with me through my shuffle when I'm driving. So I'll say, okay, here we go. What messages do I need to know right now? Give me some good ones by the time I get to work, to the office, you know. 20-minute drive, usually I'm in tears by the end of it, because random songs will come on that they're not random, you know. Clearly they fit the situation that I'm currently thinking about in that moment.
Never tried that.
Yeah, especially as someone who I would guess is clairaudient. Not guess, I know that you're clairaudient. Someone who is clairaudient, that's a really good way. Another way to strengthen that ability and be able to sort of hear things from spirit is to practice hearing things in your mind when they're not actually happening. So sit there and imagine what the sound of your air conditioner sounds like, the rattle, the breeze. Sit there and imagine your favorite song playing in your head. Imagine the voice of the singer. Imagine the background music. Even while you're actively listening to music, you can practice it by sort of trying to isolate the different instruments. Like, can you hear the guitar? Can you hear the drums? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good at strengthening your clairaudience. Are you having some like issues at work?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like they're telling me that you were going to want to ask about that. Okay, hold on. Let me just kind of tune into it a little.
Okay.
They're making me feel like there's someone at work that you feel like is like either misunderstanding you or is never going to appreciate you or something like that. Do you have like, is there a boss or an authority figure that?
Yeah.
You're right. They're never going to appreciate you, is what I'm hearing. Have you been at your current company for a long time?
Close to 2 years.
They're making me feel like you're like reluctant to want to leave because you've put in the time and the work. That's what I'm feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Why I want to move, I just feel like I can't find anything, and then I feel like there's always something holding me back.
Yeah. Um, so what the message that I'm hearing right now is that before this whole insane virus stuff, what held you back was to protect you because it wasn't time yet. They're making me feel like they wanted you to have to go through this where you currently are.
Yeah.
And that I'm hearing 3 to 6 months. So that's still, sorry, I'm literally sitting
Okay.
on my bed. So I'm just, 3 to 6 months is what I'm hearing. And I feel like they just keep telling me there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. Just trust. There's a reason for it. That's what I keep hearing. And they make me feel like the opportunity is going to come to you from a really unexpected place. You're not going to be, it's not going to be from just applying to a job that you found somewhere. It's going to be someone you know who approaches you with the opportunity.
Okay.
And I'm seeing it as a guy, a friend. But that's, that might be like overly detailed. I don't know.
No, I got the same thing. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you confirmed it.
Because you're psychic. Let's just give into it. Let's just give into it.
I kept seeing a man and I was like, okay, but when is it gonna happen? And then I was like, what, I'm just making this up. Then I
Why
go there,
not?
what if I'm making this up?
So I can see right now your spirit guide with the beautiful curly hair, like throwing her head back laughing. Like she's laughing.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm trying, girl. I'm trying. That's funny. Yeah, she says you need to trust yourself more. I do it too. I buy readings from other people all the time because it's fun. It's one thing to do a reading for somebody else, but when it's information about yourself, it's hard. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Do you read cards ever?
Yeah.
You do tarot or oracle?
They're like um they're they're different. I don't know how to call them. Españolas, cartas españolas. They're like
Oh,
have the little horses, and then they have like they're like Mexican ones. I don't know.
oh
They're
my
really
God,
known in
that's
the Mexican
cool.
community.
I'm gonna look it up. I wrote it down so I could look it up. I love, love, love reading cards, and collecting them. Unfortunately, if I'm being honest, I like buy new decks all the time. It's ridiculous. Okay, so all right, let me ask you now. What is there I know you said past loved ones too, but I feel like your spirit guide just wanted you to know that stuff like right away. What is there a past loved one that you were really hoping to connect with?
So I thankful I don't have people that passed away. I only have my dad, but I never really got like to meet him. So I do have him, I think, as the only past loved one. I think that's why I'm more in
Um,
tune with my spirit guide.
do you know if he was like a dancer? Because now I'm seeing the dancing again, but it's changing a little. I'm seeing like a man dancing again. It's like
I don't.
I don't even know what to call it because I'm super white, but like the cha-cha, whatever, where they move their hips. He's like 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and the hips are, I don't know,
Yeah,
merengue, salsa, cha, something like that.
I don't think he was a
There's
dancer.
That's okay. There's got to be some kind of message in there for you about that movement. And I do get, especially during this whole time, I've been getting a lot of messages from spirit guides about people dancing it out and like kind of breaking up that stagnant energy, which like I can't dance, so that's hard for me. I hate to dance because I'm so awkward. I just can't do it. I have a lot of talents. That is not one of them. And it's hard for me to, whenever I get these messages, I don't know what to say or to do to like demonstrate what I'm talking about. But I've been getting those various messages about the power of dance too. And the way that I see it is it literally like breaks up these blocks of energy that people have, like these stagnant blocks and bricks that are, you know, harming us in some way. It can just be like you had a bad day, you know, and that sits like this whole, you know, the insane like racism stuff, right? Maybe you're hurting right now. So it's sitting like a block in your heart. You know what I mean? Those energetic things, they build blocks in our bodies. And I keep repeatedly the last couple of months even seeing people dancing, and it like breaks the block and it smashes them up. So I'm just wondering if that's part of what that message was for you. They're not being clear about it, and I keep seeing it as a man. So I don't know. Hold on.
Okay.
Did he only speak Spanish, or was Spanish his first language?
Yes.
Okay. Were you like little when he died?
I think I was 13, but I was little when I stopped talking to him. Little.
Yeah, okay. It's weird because he's not talking to me. I can feel him, and it feels like he's in the room, but it's almost like he's talking to other people. And it's in Spanish, and it's just like like just chatty, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's like he's present but not engaging.
Okay.
And as soon as I said that, he went, there it is. So I think the way he's showing me that is he just wants you to know that, hold on, I'm just listening. He doesn't feel like he deserves your attention. But he will always be a present energy for you, watching out for you.
Okay.
Like he'll always be there in the background for you.
Okay.
And he almost makes me feel like he's not looking for forgiveness or acceptance or anything like that. He just wants to be there for you and doesn't want to bother you with it.
Okay.
And if you want more out of that relationship from him in spirit, I feel like you could probably talk to him and talk him through that. But right now, that's how he makes me feel. Like he just wants you to know that he's a presence in your life and he is around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like he doesn't want to be in your way or bother you. Like he doesn't want to be noticed almost. He just wants to like be around. But that's funny because now he's making me feel like he wasn't really like that in life. Like maybe he was kind of loud or liked to be noticed in life.
Yeah. How my mom described him. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is why it's like he's like maybe he was kind of that person that's like for show a little bit, you know, like he sort of put on the show for the crowd.
Yeah.
A bit, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, I think he's still like that up there on the other side. Sometimes you get spirits who talk a lot about how much they've grown, and sometimes you get spirits who are pretty much the same. And it is what it is. It's not up to us to encourage their growth. You know what I mean? That's on your own soul to decide after you pass if you want to take the lessons from this life and use them to grow and move on. And it's not like he's not at unrest or anything. He's happy, but he's just the same is how it feels to me.
Okay.
Does that make sense to
Did
you?
he cross over?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you that I've never once had a spirit that hasn't.
Okay.
The difference that I've seen is that I have encountered a handful of souls who are so they're basically torturing themselves over the choices they made in life and are in this sort of self-imposed limbo. You know what I mean? They go to the other side, but it's like rather than healing and growing and moving on, they kind of just sit there and wallow in the guilt of the things that they did wrong in this life.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like he's like that. He's not wallowing, but he's also not, I don't feel like he's at a place of acknowledging yet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. He's in heaven, he's fine, he's happy. But there's not a lot of, what's the word? Reflection, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now now I feel like I made him feel a little bad, and he's talking about I made a lot of mistakes. That's what he's saying. Do you know if he was unfaithful to your mom?
Very, very
Yeah.
unfaithful.
Yeah. That's what he showed me. He said he made a lot of mistakes, and then I saw women. Actually, do you know, this is kind of a loaded question, I'm sorry, but do you know if you have like siblings that you don't know?
Yeah. No, yeah, I know them. He did
You
have
do?
another family. Yeah. We're
Okay.
we're 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 happy with them.
Good. Okay. All right. He was like, see? Hey, see? Oh, he says he'll try to be better about recognizing his own flaws or whatever. So, maybe he's done a little bit of work, but I get this a lot with male spirits too. Like they just don't, it's hard for them to put the emotional work into it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's harder for men than women, even on the other side. It's true. Okay. All right. Hold on. Did you have like specific questions for your spirit guides that you were hoping we could tune into?
Um, yes.
Go for it. Give them to me.
Okay, so one is for school. I I know I keep hearing medical and I just want to know if that's my path. Should I
Well,
switch it to medical? Like,
um, earlier when I was talking about a new job opportunity coming from you for you from a friend, sometimes spirit moves faster than my mouth, and I wasn't, I don't always get every detail out because like it just blah, blah, blah. I felt like it might have been something new, like entirely new,
mhm.
field wise. So that I would say that was a very real possibility. And I also want to tell you that when you said about school, I heard yes. Before you said anything about medical, I heard yes, like a very firm yes. Hold on. She's talking to me about yes and to go for, she's not specifying whether it's medical or not. She says what she wants you to go for is your passion. So if you don't feel like you're passionate about that, then that's probably not what she's referring to. But she says she wants you to go for it with your passion. But she also wants you to know, she says that you are so smart. The sky is the limit. That's what she's saying, that you don't give yourself enough credit for the intuition, but also for how just intelligent you are. And she, whatever it is that you choose to do, she wants you to dream bigger.
Okay.
Like, if you were going to go, this is just an example, I have no idea, but say you were going to go to school for, medical billing or something. She's like, be a doctor. You know what I mean? Not that you want
Yeah.
to, but she's saying dream bigger, like
Okay.
big, 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 big. She wants you to dream big and push yourself.
Okay.
Is that helpful? Did that answer?
No, it is because I just had a whole whining session the other time and I was like, I don't want to do medical. I was like, why do you keep putting medical? And I
So
was just so upset that day. So that makes a lot of
she
sense.
didn't say medical to me.
Okay.
So if you don't feel passionately about that, and if that doesn't give you aspirations to go bigger and bigger and bigger, then I would say that's not the thing. Because
Okay.
that's what she's pushing on, is whatever gives you that drive to go bigger and bigger and use your brain and be intelligent. Actually, I pulled, before I called you, or before I did this, I pulled a couple of cards for you. And I can go through them, but they're laid out on top of my desk. And as we were talking about that, I was wicked drawn to this last one, which, or I guess it was the middle one, which is about imposter syndrome. And so I feel like that's the conversation there that she's trying to get me to focus on with you. So this card, it's the Seven of Swords reversed. I don't know if you ever do read tarot, but this card, when we have it reversed, it talks about, sometimes it can be symbolic of like, of keeping secrets, but the big thing, this is what it looks like up front, upright, and then reversed.
Okay.
It has different meanings. It looks like a really dark and scary card, but it's
It
actually
does.
not. Especially when all the swords cards look dark and scary, and they kind of are, because they usually point to some harsh truths. That's the point of a sword. But when we reverse it, right, the thing that's really standing out for me right now for the meaning of this card for you, and I was super drawn to it when we were talking about your career, is the imposter syndrome aspect of it. So that's where you feel like, who am I to do this stuff? I don't feel good enough for this. Like, who am I to think that I can do this?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I read this book called The Secrets of Six-Figure Women. And the thing that stood out to me, I get that all the time. I imposter syndrome. I'm always like, everybody has that on some level. But I read this Secrets of Six-Figure Women, and the thing that stood out to me the most is they all had it too. These women who are running these Fortune 500 companies, they're the CEOs, they're the boss. They get up in front of everyone and do a presentation, and the whole time they're thinking, God, I hope no one figures out that I'm not really smart. You know?
Yeah.
It's like everybody feels like they're faking it.
Yeah, I feel that a lot. Go
You're
through
not
that a lot.
faking it. You're not faking it. You're not faking it. Who are you not to do this stuff?
Yeah.
You got it.
I was doing a presentation once and then I came out of there thinking like, gosh, I hope they don't catch on to me.
Yeah. That's what imposter syndrome is. When you're like, wow, look at all these people I have fooled into thinking
Yeah.
that I know what I'm talking about. Every time I teach a workshop, I feel that way. Like, it's normal, but she wants you to know, oh, I got lemonade on my book. She wants you to know that you can do it and you've got it. Let me tell you about the other card that I pulled too while we're at it.
Okay.
All right. So I pulled the King of Swords. And this talks about, I love these cards. Crows are one of my spirit animals. This card talks about leadership. So the King of Swords, now the swords are like truth, right? The harsh truth. So he is the kind of leader that you're going to look to when we want to talk about the real truths, when we want to be really honest with ourselves and with other people. And it's funny because it's like, this is the real you that other people see, and then this is the you feel.
Yeah.
The imposter. But this is what other people are seeing. You're a leader, you're an authority, you know what you're talking about, you speak the truth, you have clarity. And she's saying, be this, not this. Like, she
Okay.
wants you to practice embodying this, even if you feel like you're faking it, just keep doing it.
Okay.
Keep doing it. And she's talking about it in terms of, I think, whatever this dream is that you have that she's pushing on you. Do you have some kind of like side ambition or like a dream to start your own business or something?
Yes. Yes, I do.
She's pushing you. She's pushing you. She's pushing
Okay.
you.
I've been wanting to do it. I just with Corona, I was like, it's not the right time. I will get
Well,
to it.
she's saying get all the behind the scenes work started.
Okay.
And this is what I'm hearing now too. You don't have to be perfect to start. Okay. Start
Mhm.
with the little tiny pieces and do it a little bit on the side if you need, while you build it up and while you understand. I work full time for myself now, but I didn't always. I had a part-time job and I did this just as a little side hobby until I had the clientele where I could quit. And that's every small business owner's dream, really, is being able to finally get to that place. But I just was checking in and was like, why are you having me tell her that? They want me to remind you about the amount of work and self-discipline that goes in behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when we're in a time of coronavirus and we're home all the time, because it's so easy for me to go, the kitchen needs to be cleaned, or let me go work on my garden. Of course I planted vegetables in case, God forbid, we were stuck in the house all summer.
Yeah.
Let me go work on my garden. Let me go. It's so easy for me to be distracted and go do something else and not treat my business like a full-time job because I'm home.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I think her point in that is just to remind you about the dedication and the behind the scenes work that it kind of requires, the stuff that people don't see. You know what I mean? So she's making me feel like, get the little, start with the little pieces and get them in place,
Okay.
and then save the big steps for when you'll be able to actually go forward.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last card that I pulled was the Five of Cups, but it was reversed. And so this is talking about personal setbacks, about forgiveness, but it feels here to me like it's talking about forgiving yourself. And this card also typically talks about moving on. So, but it's funny, normally, maybe with the cards that you read, they do too, but with tarot cards, they often represent like a lot of different things, right? And so you can kind of choose one out of the three meanings, say, that the card represents and be drawn to that. But the way that this feels for me is almost like a story, right? So we're talking about those three things that this card represents in one. So it's like you had a personal setback, you've got to forgive yourself, and then you've got to move on.
Yeah.
So whatever thing you did that you felt like was a fail, maybe you're beating yourself up about it. That's what I'm hearing, is that, when that you might be someone who has a tendency to kind of beat yourself up about stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I do.
yeah, she wants you to forgive yourself and then move on.
Okay.
Like this is what she's showing me. She wants you to start putting that into practice as like an everyday, like, catch and correct kind of thing, where like, even if you open the dishwasher in the morning and you're like, this dish didn't get this is a stupid example, but the dish didn't get clean, and I shouldn't have put so many dishes in, or I should have arranged them differently, or and you're like giving yourself grief because the dishwasher didn't run properly, right? She wants you every single time that you do it to, in that moment, be like, nope, just a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. No big deal. I forgive myself and I'm moving on.
Okay.
Like with the big, and she wants you to practice it with the stupid little stuff so that when the big stuff comes, you feel confident in your ability to be able to do that, to be able to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for your participation in things that maybe they weren't your idea, but you were involved in them. Forgive yourself for the times you beat yourself up. Forgive yourself for beating yourself up too.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself for making the mistake. Forgive yourself for beating yourself up about it. She just wants you to really practice, like, daily, stopping yourself and forgiving yourself every single time you have negative self-talk.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay, good. Do you have like a hard time with like body image and stuff too?
I think I get my moments. I have my moments where I'm just like, I look good, and then there's other days where you're
Yeah.
like, what happened? Like,
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, it's, yeah, I got roots for
yeah,
days. Yeah, it's hard. It's, especially during this coronavirus time, it's hard. But, that when I said something about negative self-talk, I feel like that was sort of the flash that I got. She doesn't even, she wants you to be careful about that. Be careful about the language that you use with yourself, to yourself, right?
yeah. No, I do that. I'm very tough because I like discipline. So when I want to be at a certain weight or something, I kind of, she's right. I do kind of negative talk to myself because it kind of gives me motivation to push forward. And
Yeah.
but she might be right because sometimes I take it a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she just, so she wants you to be kind to yourself. And she's telling me because like your internal whatever is listening, your soul, your spirit. Actually, she's telling me inner child, even.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes we have to talk to ourselves and our souls like they're little kids, you know, and especially with like forgiveness, you know, if you had any difficult aspects of your childhood, like if there was stuff in your childhood that was kind of traumatic for you, I think we all have that in our own ways. If there was stuff that was traumatic for you in your childhood, especially, that's the way, you know, you sort of reparent and talk to yourself like a child, treat yourself how you deserved to be treated back then. Would you sit there and like make fun of your kid for the way their body looks? No, never,
No.
you know.
Mhm.
So she wants you to remember
Okay.
that. I get it, but that's her advice. Okay, hold on. Is there, are you worried about your mom for some reason?
At times I think so. My mom's like an on and off thing, like
Yeah,
that I get worried about her.
yeah, hold on. Is she single?
Yes.
Is that one of the things that you worry about, that she's lonely?
Yeah, that's yeah.
I asked because I heard a voice that was like, tell her her mom will be fine. I don't know what that means, but
I think yeah.
and then it felt like the conversation turned to something about being alone or being lonely or something like that. Maybe maybe she doesn't have the greatest picker with men either.
No.
And
No,
so
she
we worry
doesn't.
about her being lonely, but we also worry about who she's not lonely with.
Yeah.
We worry about her when she's lonely, and we worry about her when she's not lonely. Okay. They make me feel like she's pretty tough though. Like
She
I
no,
feel like
she is.
she's been through a lot and she's a tough lady. That's what I heard. Okay, hold on. Do you ever do like candle magic or rituals like that?
Haven't done in a long time.
That's what I'm seeing. That might be a nice way for you to sort of connect with your spirituality too. I'm seeing a candle with herbs on it.
Oh, well, I did wanted to ask you because um this happens to me like often. I feel like a very heavy presence and it's not I feel like it's not good. And at
Mm,
times I feel drained and tired and like I can't do anything for the rest of the day. And then sometimes I've caught a glimpse of what it is and I just go ahead and stage the room.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know, at times like I don't know if you believe in this, but like Mexican culture, we believe a lot like witchcraft and everything. And sometimes I feel like somebody has done something to me.
When
And
I was asking you about the candle rituals, I was hearing bruja in my head.
yeah.
Okay, so two things. Number one, I think the heaviness and the drainingness and the tired is probably partly from that, but also I think that you're very empathic, and so you're picking up a lot on the energy of the other people around you. And right now in this time when the global energy is at such a place of unrest, um it's going to be, it's even harder, you know? So
Mhm.
some ways that I protect myself from that, because I suffer with it too. Number one, I rest when I really feel like I need to rest. It's important to me that if I'm feeling sad and heavy, that I don't try and, like, if I'm feeling sad and heavy and I've done the things that I normally do to try to clear it and I still feel that way, it's important to me that I lean into it and just allow myself to feel it and move through it rather than try and fight it. But
Okay.
before that, what I do is I sage smudge, but meditation, white light, like I use white candles and light them and say a prayer for protection. I sage smudge myself before I have my sage going, like it's never further than this from reach. I literally do it all. My daughter, last night I was taking a yoga workshop and she came in the room crying and asked me to smudge her room because she couldn't sleep. So like I smudge all the time, but I do it. I do, you know, I do the room and the energy, but I do myself and I ask it to help me remove any stagnant energy off of me. You know, anything that doesn't belong to me, anything that's not mine, anything that does belong to me, but it, like before I do a reading, I get rid of my own feelings so that I can surrender to my client, you know? Um, so there's that. I also take a lot of sea salt baths because sea salt is very cleansing. I do full moon releasing rituals. So I release with the moon anything that no longer serves me. That's my own personal stuff that's holding me back. But when we're talking about picking up on the energy of others, I like to do the salt baths. I also use some crystals. If you like crystals, I have black tourmaline, which I usually wear in a piece of jewelry on my body. It's a pretty crystal, but it sort of helps protect from others. You could do evil eye stuff if you're into that. In terms of a negative energy that might be around you, I do believe in that. And I have experienced that. And the things that I do when that happens to me is, number one, I sage smudge. I invite in my angels, guides, past loved ones, ancestors, and any spirits who are of the highest good.
Mhm.
And I am very specific when I say highest good. You have to say something like that to qualify it, right? So that
Okay.
spirits willy-nilly don't come in. Um, I invite them in to help me when I smudge or when I light my candle and say my prayer, to help me remove any energies from my house that don't belong here. Um, so I do that. I clear it with sage and with prayer and intention. And then what I do is I try and replace that energy with good things, right? So even if I say I felt a presence in my bedroom and I didn't like it and it scared me, I would do whatever I had to get rid of it. Initially, my actual first step would be to tell it to go away. I'm very firm with any spirit, good or otherwise, shadow, light, whatever. When I'm not inviting, you know, my own spirit guides are welcome anytime,
Mm.
but any other spirits, they're not to be here unless I invite them in. So setting up boundaries like that. So like, you know, I set a purposeful in time and place that I'm going to connect with spirit. So I only connect to spirit when I'm doing my morning stuff in the morning and doing my own prayers, or when I'm doing a reading or whatever the case may be. Spirit is not allowed to just come in my house whenever it feels like. Sometimes they slip through. And when that happens, I very firmly tell it to get out. I have had shadow figures that have showed up. You know, I'm careful about meditating when I've been drinking because I like to meditate every night, but say I've had a few glasses of wine, alcohol lowers your inhibitions, right? So now
Yeah.
I'm opening myself up to this connection, but my inhibitions are lowered. So my boundaries aren't able to necessarily keep people out the way that I want them to. So there's been times I've woken up in the middle of the night and there's been a really scary shadow figure in my room, or there've been times where I've had dark energies in my house for days. and I tell it to go away very firmly. My husband's even been like, what the hell? Because I've sat up in the middle of the night before and been like, get out. Like, get out. You're
Yeah.
not welcome. No one invited you. Go away. I'm very firm about it. If I feel like it's a human spirit who just is trying to get me to give a message, I'll respond differently. But if it's a dark energy, so I do that as my first step. Then I sage smudge. Then I light a white candle and say lots of prayers and intentions, and I call in my angels, ancestors, and loved ones to help protect me. And then I ignore it.
Okay. I
I don't
think I
talk
just need to
about
do
it.
the get out part. I haven't done that.
Be firm. Be firm. I don't talk about it after that. I don't give it attention. I know that you follow me on Instagram, but a while back, I found a tooth. Did you see that
Juice?
story?
No,
I
I didn't get.
found I found a freaking tooth on my desk. A human tooth.
What's how?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so it freaked me out. I could tell that it was like creepy. And so I let it go for a couple of days, but then I kept feeling this energy around the house. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to invite it back in, but I kept feeling this energy around the house that I didn't like. That was scary and it made me uncomfortable. And my kids were even having nightmares. So I know that there was really something around. And I connected with my spirit guides to try to get some help on it. And the message that I got was, so what I was seeing was actually a little girl. And I sometimes will see little girls in my house, like little spirit girls. I have a little spirit girl that's around here sometimes. And this was a little girl, but it wasn't the same little girl. And my spirit guide told me very firmly, it is not a little girl. She's disguising herself so that you'll talk to her. Do not give her any attention. So I sage smudged and all that. And then I ignored it and it went away.
I need to do that.
Yeah. So the way that your loved one, say your grandmother has died and she's around you always and she wants to be with you. She feeds off of your, your good energy, your love. When you're happy, your good spirits and your spirit guides, they like that happiness. They want to see more of that. And like, if you're into manifestation, it's the same. Like what we are talking about and focusing on is what we attract more of, right? And the light spirits, they feed off of your joy and your happiness and your love. And the low vibrating, the shadow spirits are the same, except they feed off your depression, your sadness, your tiredness, whatever. So they can't necessarily like hurt you in the sense that we as physical beings could hurt each other, do hurt each other. But they can make you feel like crap.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to be afraid of them, but you have to be firm with them.
Okay.
That's my experience and my take on it.
I know for a fact this was my spirit guide because I heard my spirit guide say he's here, and then my dogs started going off.
That gave me chills. Yeah.
And then I just saw a clown in my head, and I was so afraid that night, and I couldn't get over it. And I got to a point where I feel like lately I've been really just calling for like archangels for help, and I was like, just
Yes.
please help me tonight. I was really afraid that night. And then that situation happened, and I had to like sage. So I had at that point I never had sage, and I had to buy sage just so I could like get the energy out.
Yeah.
And then I know another situation happened where I know there was a girl, and I think that girl kept telling me, like, check your door, check your door. And I went outside, and my dog was out of the cage, and because at night I put them in the kennels. And so I know that was a good spirit just letting me know, like, hey, your dog got out of the kennel. Maybe you should put her
Yeah.
back. And I was like, thank you
Oh,
for letting me know. So
that's
I went
good.
back, but I could tell the difference between the he's here and I got really scared versus the put your dog back in the kennel type of
Yeah.
thing.
And that fearful feeling that you have often will like that is them. The way that when you have a good spirit around you and you can feel that energy, like I can feel when my spirit guides or a past loved one steps in, I physically feel that energy. You can that the fear is what the negative energy of the other one feels like. So that is
Okay.
very perceptive of you. Yeah. Be really firm. If you feel it again, be really firm. So those are my steps that I take. I tell it to go away. I sage smudge or do some kind of cleansing. Doesn't have to be sage. There's other things that you can do too. Like if you run out of sage, you can use lavender. You can sprinkle salt in a circle around your house or your room or whatever. You can look up like cleansing techniques. But I like sage because I like the way it smells. I'm just always really careful about where I get it from because sometimes it's oversourced. But anyway, so I do that, and then I call upon people for protection, and I light protection candles. And you can do, if you're into it, you can look up protection spells, candle magic, things like that. And if you feel like it came from someone's like, do you think it came from someone's like negative intentions towards you?
Yeah, I really do. I just don't know. It was my ex. I don't know how. I've been dealing with him for the past years. I don't know. He's like, he really does harassment, and I'm at a point where I just don't know how to get rid of him. And I really
I
feel like
heard,
he did that.
I just heard he's a Cancer, like
Yeah.
as in the illness, not the sign. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, and maybe even you might feel better even with like an evil eye amulet or a bracelet or something or a painting on your wall. Have you seen those ever?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so they absorb, the negative looks that you would get from other people, any negative intentions that people wanted to send your way. Um, so they're showing me you when he sends like negative, aside from the spirits or whatever entity that was that you felt, when he is trying to get involved and weasel himself in your life again. Does he do that repeatedly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very often.
um I they're showing me you, and it's funny because I'm seeing it like physically, although it's obviously like a metaphor. Like taking what he sends to you and just like wrapping it in love and light and sending it back. Um,
Yes.
and I'm not a what?
It's just I've always said like if somebody's being mean to you, like kill them with kindness. So I
Yeah,
always do like the whole like sending you back love. Like I know what you're doing.
yeah, yeah. Well, that drives them crazy too. So that's an
Yeah.
added benefit. It's energetically good for you, and it makes them mad.
Yeah.
um, yeah. Okay, hold on. Um, when I did this, I always do this kind of just like a third eye thing, like to help with what I'm doing. But when I did this, what I saw was actually you praying. It was like a nightly prayer. So I say prayer, but I personally don't pray to like God. I just pray to the universe, to my spirit guides. To me, that's all the same thing. Talking to your spirit guides counts as prayer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it was like the prayer, like, it was like for protection. That's what I was, protect me, surround me in white light. That's another thing that you can do is visualize wrapping yourself in a bubble of white light.
Yeah.
Um, or any other, there are tons of different shielding techniques that you can use and look up if you need more ideas. I can hear my kids are starting to get restless. Protection. I'm seeing like a prayer for protection every night. And I know you said that sometimes you call on the archangels. I think that's good. Raphael, Michael. I feel like I'm hearing even Ariel, who she's more of like a mother nature, like a nature, Mother Earth type angel. But I think it might really be good for you to like walk outside barefoot and do some grounding techniques. I think that might feel good for you, like energetically, to connect with nature and just be outside. The earth likes to take and transmute any like negative vibes that are on us. So when you're feeling yucky, or even just if your ex texts you or whatever and you need to like shake it off, like sometimes
Yeah.
little subtle ways like that other people don't know what I'm doing, and it's really energetic cleansing. Like if I'm out somewhere and I feel overwhelmed, I will excuse myself, go to the bathroom, and I'll wash my hands, and I'll wash my hands with intention. You know, it's not really about getting them physically clean, it's about washing that energy off of me. Or you
Yeah.
can do visualizations where you're growing roots out of your feet to get you more grounded and connected. Just step outside and take a breath and literally be like, woo, you know, shake it off. Like,
Yeah. Okay. I will. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it.
you're welcome. Stay in touch. Let me know if you need
I
anything.
will. You answer all my questions. You were on point. Thank you. I
Oh,
got
good.
sentimental, but it's because I really wanted validation from my spirit guide, and you were like on point, and I was like, "That's her."
Well, just remember, you don't even need my validation. She's like laughing. You have it. You have it.
Thank you.
You're very intuitive. So I recorded this, and I will send you an unlisted YouTube link in a day or two. There's not enough storage space in Zoom, so I have to upload it. No one will be able to see it unless you send them the link. So
Okay.
it won't show up in the search or anything. It'll just be for you.
Okay. I did want to ask you really quick. I
Sure.
saw, at least I got an email. I said you were having like a class. What type of class was that? It was like a 10-week program?
Oh, yeah. So that starts June 15th. And it's, if you go to mediumjamieday.com, I think it's /courses, the outline of like the classes are there for you. So it's 10 weeks, and it's one-on-one, either phone calls. It's like every other week-ish will be a personal phone call where we chat, and then the next one will be like a video. There's more calls than there are videos, but
Okay.
and there's a few readings. It's like I think you get a spirit guide reading. I think you get an energy scan. I think you get a tarot reading, you know, dispersed throughout it. And then there's lessons on like how to receive from spirit, how to deal with being an empath. It's like kind of like a spirit 101 kind of deal.
Yeah.
But about how to really dive deeper into your connection with, you know, your own guides, the universe, helping yourself connect with your spirits. So if you go to mediumjamieday.com/courses, it's got it includes everything it lists everything it includes, including the 10-week lineup, like what each class each week is, and then some frequently asked questions. And then down at the bottom, there's a button to apply for it. I'm not full, so if you were to apply, you would probably get accepted. But I like to keep that there just in case it fills up. That way I can, you know, I want to be able, I only take a certain amount of people for this because it's one-on-one. So it's like a lot of my energy. So I only take a certain amount of people, and I like to be able to be kind of selective about who I choose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would be fine with selecting you. So if you're interested,
Okay.
feel free to apply for it, and I will get back to you. And I will also get back to you in a couple of days with your recording. Do you have any more
Okay.
questions?
Perfect. No, no, no. That's
All
it.
right.
Thank you so much for your help. Hope you
Thank
have a good day.
you. You're
Bye.
welcome. Good luck. Take care. Talk to
You
you
too.
later. Bye.